Hey friends, welcome to the episode 2 of LTRT podcast. In this podcast, we will chat about two of the most highly rated action-adventure games recently that we've been playing. And they are Elden Ring and Tunic. I'm your host, Jax, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Ron.
Hello, Jax and fellow gamers. It is great to be back. It has been a few tough weeks for us in Hong Kong.
Yes, you're right. It is currently, we are recording in March and we've been hit by the most severe COVID wave, which is the fifth wave, but it's slowly going down, so it should be okay, right? So, Ron, what's been keeping you busy recently?
Mostly with family and work. Unfortunately, my family got COVID, so I've been running around for them. What about you, Jax?
Well, for me, just I have a young daughter, so just being in the house, trying to take care of her. You know, my wife's still working remote, and so she has a lot of meetings all the time. And for me, I just need to sometimes look after the baby because I'm on my holidays, right? So
Great.
apart from that, and of course a lot of gaming, and so that's why we get to talk about the two games we've said already. So let's jump straight into arguably the bigger one, because at least it's multi-platform and it's AAA. So Ron, I know you've been sinking a lot of hours into Elden Ring. So do you want to tell us a little bit about Elden Ring?
Yes, indeed. Elden Ring is a action-adventure RPG open world game. Oh, that is a mouthful. It is developed by From Software, the creator of Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Released it on 25th of February. It is on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and Series SX. It's got a lot of positive reviews.
Yes. So it is a great game. I mean, if you scroll on Twitter or anything, that's all you see all the time. So, Ron, now you told us about the game. I know you've had a lot of hours. How do you feel about the game?
Well, the game is it's really weird to say it is an exploration and adventure game, given the developer is From Software. Being able to go through the open world is a little bit different and kept me going for a long time day to day.
Yes. Like, I can tell as well because I played a little bit. I have a few hours into it. And like the combat is really hard. Like I'm not normally that type of guy. So at least when I get on the horse and run around, I feel the freedom and do a bit of exploration. Like to me, I've kind of stopped playing for now and played on move on to other games. But Ron, I know you've been sinking a lot of hours. So what part of Elden Ring continually bring you back to the game?
Well, it has a giant open world, amazing level design and details. You just never find short of something to find. And everything you find is meaningful and useful in the game. Also, it's compact. There's a lot of different kind of play style you can go around with. Different kind of Ash of Wars, which is skills, spells, incantations. And you can always level up a little bit before you try on the boss, which is a new thing you can do Beforehand, I tried Sekiro, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne. It is such a hard game. It forces you down a single road, but in Elden Ring, you can actually go explore, level up a bit before, and it's never short of things to find. It also gives you a bit of a sense of accomplishments. Even some tiny things like how the inventory works is also defeating boss, of course.
Yes. Like, I heard that with, I don't know, Souls or Bloodborne, that if you can't beat the boss, you die, and then, like, the difficulty becomes harder or something like that. And so, like, you just keep grinding through, but you get weaker, you get handicapped more and more. So I guess that's why definitely I felt that that's one of the reasons that it put me off the games previously, and the reason why I actually picked up Elden Ring, because I heard that it's a little bit different, and the exploration as well. And, like, for players like me, Ron, like for players who avoid From Software games, like due to the infamous difficulty, do you think Elden Ring is the best From Software games for gamers to jump in?
It is still a very difficult game at its core. It is a From Software game, a soul-like game, so it is still going to be very hard. It requires a lot of skills and patience, but it is way more accessible than before, since you can go around in the open world to level up before you go back and try the boss. in previous game, you are stuck in a place if you can't beat the boss. So this is a little bit more generous for what you can do at the beginning of the game.
Yes, I totally agree with the difficulty because I've tried to fight one or two bosses, but of course I've died. And you would know, Ron, because I've invited you with the multiplayer for you to come and help me with the boss. But you mentioned that when you joined me in the multiplayer, because you're much higher level than me, there were some restrictions when you joined the game, right?
Well, I don't think it's about the level, but mainly because of the design of the multiplayer. So when I join your game, I get half of my health and half of my potion as a fair level for the enemies in the open world, I guess. So it balanced the gameplay a little bit more out, but co-op is a little bit different from what we experienced before.
Okay. So you said half. Is it because like technically we're just one health bar? And so me and you will both have half the health, so for it was keep the difficulty, right?
Yeah. I don't think the health is actually halved, but the potions I get is halved. So health is definitely, I can see it literally drop down.
Yes, don't worry, Ron. After the podcast, we'll probably have to go back and fight that boss soon, okay? Because I still haven't passed the boss. Yeah, so I guess like this is one of the this would be a good game for players who avoid From Software to jump in, because there is, as you mentioned, the open world aspect. You can go back and level up before you attempt the boss again, and then of course you can invite friends over and just kind of have a good time. So definitely check it out if you've been avoiding From Software games.
Yeah, and a little bit add up on that is when you missed a few bosses, you can always go back. Even the tutorial boss that at the very beginning, the first guy you fight, I recently found a way to go back. So it is quite surprising that I can actually go back, because I thought I'll never have my revenge and got his loot.
Yes.
There's so much to find in that game. Definitely worth trying.
Yep. Your only revenge would be to start a new character. That's what I thought it would be. You know, it could be like an achievement that you can only get the second time you play or the third time you play. You know. Yes. Now, I think we would agree, and I think the internet would agree, that Elden Ring has been a massive success with a lot of 10 out of 10s in a lot of the critics and a lot of good reviews by other players. So how do you think Elden Ring will affect this type of genre, the single player exploration action adventure game, and what Elden Ring DNA do you think we'll see in the future games?
It's really hard to say that it will affect any other single player games out there right now, because what Elden Ring is doing is perfecting the open world gameplay, the exploration gameplay, and the leveling and balancing. Well, not really balancing, because sometimes you get powerful magics that is OP, but overall it's actually more like perfecting what is in an open world single player game compared to what is going to be influencing other games. So if other games are to follow Elden Ring's step, it will be actually very hard, because everything they've done, they craft the map, the open world, the dungeon, the traps, the skills, they do it with a heart that I don't think a lot of devs can do it to that level. But definitely would love to see a lot of things going on in other games. Also, it is not a perfect game as well, because I would love to see more modern features that is adding to the game, like a bit more co-op friendly for us, so we can play together finally, properly.
Yes, properly, and just overkill and just walk around and just slash everybody with one hit. Yes, like personally, I can see one thing that may be affecting other open world games, because let's talk about the UI, for example. Like now, Elden Ring is definitely a game that doesn't hold your hands, right? Unlike most other single player RPG type of game, where there'll be like a journal with all the quest logs, there'll be maps, and then there'll be logos of different side quests, and you just open up the map, and then there'll just be so many logos that you can't actually see the map. And I think that's one thing that I do appreciate with the with Elden Ring, because there just really isn't anything there, and you really have to find it out yourself. Do you think we'll see more games with like a decluttering of the UI?
I actually seen a few more games like games from Ubisoft like Assassin's Creed. They offer options for you to declutter the UI, but I don't think. Well, but giving the options to the player will be a good touch compared to not holding your hands and you have to find out everything yourself.
Actually, I agree. I think having choice that would kind of be an accessibility like option, right? So if you would like a bit of guidance, turn on the UI and have everything there. And if you don't want the game to help you as much, then turn off the UI. Because I feel like if I have a bit more guidance, I might be more willing to spend a bit more time into the game. So at least I kind of know what I'm doing. Because you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of just roaming around and just slashing
Yeah,
a few
understand.
things, you know. Yes.
Yeah.
And that difference in the exploration is what brings us to the second game we're going to talk about, which is Tunic. Okay, it's a game that I'm currently playing. I actually stopped playing Elden Ring for Tunic. So just a little bit of brief on what Tunic is. It's an isometric action adventure game. It's challenging. Okay, a lot of people would describe it as the old school Zelda, like A Link to the Past, crossover Souls. You know, so I definitely agree with the Souls part because I've died numerous of times. Okay, and the fun fact of Tunic is that it was actually developed by one guy. There was just one guy who worked on the game, and then he brought on
That
a
is
team.
impressive.
Yeah, he brought on a team for the music and the illustration, but the actual story and the game is just one guy. Okay, Ron, what are we waiting for? Where is our game? Yes, it was released. It was released on 16th of March, 2022. So recently, fun fact about the release date is actually like because Tunic's been it's been shown in the different press conference for a few years now, and the release date was never there, and everyone kind of just rumor when's the release date, and then suddenly on the 16th of March it was actually the ID at Xbox for the Indie Showcase, and then when they showed Tunic, they just said, "Yep, it's out today." You know, that kind of remind me of I think it was Fallout 4. Okay, so
Really?
that
Okay.
yeah, I think they just pretty much said, "Yep, it's out today," or ready in a month or something like that. Yes, so you can play it on PC, Xbox, and it's on Game Pass as well. It's not on Nintendo and it's not on the PlayStation. Okay, lots of good reviews, of course, on Steam and different critics as well. 9 out of 10 on IGN. Yeah, so just a quick. I don't want to talk too much about Tunic for now, but just in comparison, just a quick feeling. I've played 760 minutes, which is 12 hours in it already. I've beaten one boss. I felt like it was kind of streamlined for you to find the boss. And I found two others, which I died,
Okay.
like 2 attempts, and then I just didn't go and fight them again. So I went on another route, and then I found two other areas, which I'm quite far into the areas. I feel like I'll be finding bosses soon. Like, personally, I love it. It's challenging, but it's not impossible. Unlike Elden Ring, I felt like it's really challenging, and for me, I'll just go somewhere else, like in the map. But like with Tunic, I'll talk about it later. There's something which is really cool. Like, there's a lot of clues in the game, but you just need to read it. Sometimes it's in plain sight. And that really helps. Suddenly, it's that aha moment. It's like you flick through something, and then, oh, that's how you do it. Okay. And actually, one thing I really like is, well, it's not a AAA game, it's isometric. The game is much smaller, so it loads really fast when you die. Like, compared to a game that I played a lot in the last gen, which is Jedi Fallen Order. I didn't finish it because every time I died in the last gen, it would take ages to load up. And I think that is something that I really appreciate. If you die, I just load back up again, you know? And yeah, so there's some, I feel like compared to Elden Ring, there's a few more accessible features. Like, if you die, you can go back, and then there's a ghost there. When you pick it up, it will do a nova damage. So if you die from someone, you could actually have a little bit of a hand to help as well. So, yep, love Tunic.
Yes, Jax. So, like you said already, you tried Elden Ring before you tried Tunic. Why are you playing more Tunic compared to Elden Ring? What is holding you?
Yes, like I feel it's definitely down to personal preference. Like Elden Ring is amazing. Obviously, I've played both. Like, you know me, I'm not a big fan of these third person massive open world exploration game. Which I know Elden Ring is a lot more than just exploration, but exploration is a big part of it. And not knowing, like, you need to spend a lot of time to be immersed into it. I'm just not that type of person, you know. Like, there's only one or two open world games that I finished and really enjoyed, like Witcher 3, because like for that I just did the main quest and one or two bigger side quests. I just left all the other things which I consider clutter. Um, I feel like being isometric, it makes, for me, it's not as intense. I don't feel like, oh, when I'm gaming Elden Ring, oh, I can't die, you know, I've got to fully concentrate into it. But being isometric, I like personally, it really helps, and I feel like the beauty of the world, like the colors, is really vibrant and it's really lively compared to Elden Ring, which is quite, well, at least an earlier part. I know there's a golden part when you come down, it's like golden hour with the different time, but it's not as vibrant. It's not as lush. Is quite desolate. It's quite lonely sometimes in Elden Ring. Yes.
Yeah, I saw a few clips of Tunic and I quite like the design as well. The world is a little bit different compared to Elden Ring, less grimy, I guess, a bit more relaxing as well. Well, since you mentioned Tunic is something like of a Zelda cross Souls-like game, how accessible is it compared to, say, Elden Ring?
Okay, yeah. Like it's great to compare because I played both, right? I feel like Elden Ring there is, well, at least your accessibility is your time and skills, right? It will be easier when you put the time into it. I feel like I really appreciate the devs in Tunic putting in like a no fail mode, like a god mode. I don't think you die. I haven't tried it. I've seen it in the accessibility menu, but I don't think if you turn that on, I believe you don't die or something. Okay, like and like another thing I mentioned earlier briefly about finding the little clues. There's like a 90s game style manual in the game. So as you go through the different maps and different parts, you find pages of this manual, and then it will normally tell you a few hints about the next part. It will show you a map. There's actually a map in it, and then but like the cool thing about the game is there's rarely any English in the game. It's got this like made up language, okay, and then there's sometimes one or two English words. So like you really have to look at those English words and then look at the logo and try and figure out what that is. And that is how that was when I mentioned about the clues. Like for example, I went and tried the first boss. Remember, I beat the first boss, but I died a few times. It felt really hard, and then I flicked through the manual again, and then they actually recommended a minimum level. Okay, because there is leveling in the Tunic. So I realized, oh my god, I'm totally off that level. So I just went back and farmed some grunts and try and level up, and then it was actually easier. And like a lot of the time, I'll get stuck in the game, and then I'll spend a lot of time looking through the manual. I mean, it's beautiful, the manual. I'll put it onto the visual version of the podcast so you can see as well.
Yeah, talk about being able to see what level you are supposed to be is a great thing compared to Elden Ring. Because I don't think level means a lot in Elden Ring. I'm 50 hours in, level 70 something. I still got one shot by a few bosses. So it's quite a bit more exciting to see a game that is a bit more accessible, a bit more you can play and then put it down for a little bit and come back. Elden Ring is such a game that you can't put it down and come back and say, oh, let's continue. But because you forget everything, it's so complicated sometimes that compared to what you do. Also, if you talk about the map, the map of Elden Ring is a little bit more of a, well, just like what you say about the menu, finding out how things works, similar for Elden Ring as well, but it sounds a little bit more simple for your site. So it's a welcoming site compared to what I've been playing for the last 50 hours of game time.
But you love it though. You've been enjoying that 50 hours. Don't make it sound like it was tough. But as you mentioned, the sense of achievement. I feel like for both games, for Elden Ring and Tunic, because you will die many times, and then you have to try and find the clues, and you'll find hidden things, and like that sense of achievement is there. And like for me, Elden Ring is just a little bit difficult. Like to be honest, once again, I feel like if I put in the time, if I dedicate my time into it, I'm sure I might be able to do a little bit better. But it's just one of those things
Yes.
now, right? Being a parent, and then there's just limited time as well. So that's why for
Absolutely.
me, I feel like I will turn to I've been turning to Tunic rather than Elden Ring.
Yeah, you need to spend a lot of time in Elden Ring, but if you take the time to go around the world and explore it, you'll find the world very interconnected. I was able to find an area that you have to take a lift down to the underground, and on the other way, going back up, you can see the map is actually linked together at a similar distance. So that would be an amazing thing to find out for you later on.
Yeah, well,
So-
I definitely have to put the time back
Yeah.
into Elden Ring. Yes.
Yeah, but issue of Elden Ring is about the story. The story of Elden Ring is a little bit vague at the best thing to describe it as vague. So as a fan of a story-driven game, I've got to ask, mate, is there a story behind Tunic, and what is the end goal of the game?
Okay, this is definitely a. I'll try and answer it without any spoilers. Okay, so the short answer is yes, there is story. Okay, what is it about? I'm not too sure. Okay, so
Same
basically,
for me for Elden Ring.
yeah. So I feel like looking at the manual, okay, and looking at a few things. So when you start the game, probably half an hour into the game, you will find something, okay, and then that seems like something that you have to rescue or something related to you that you have to find, go around the world and find things to maybe unlock them. Now, it's no spoilers because I haven't really looked at any guides, and this is just me trying to speculate what I'm trying to do. But I've been to many different areas of the game, and I've found some really quote unquote shocking things. So I feel like that's probably building up to the story. So yes, there is story. So that's why, Ron, I'm telling you, gotta give it a go
Yes.
later.
Yeah, because I find out Elden Ring story is a little bit of a downer because I don't understand it. People I speak to often speak to me as they are Yoda or something. They are reciting a poem to me. So I have no idea what they're talking about. And when you miss something or some NPC in the game, you are going to have a hard time. So being able to follow a storyline in the game will be a great thing.
Yes, and like that's why I feel like back to the the manual book. I feel like it does remind you some parts of the game and some parts like I find myself keep going back and forth in the manual, and so yeah, probably within the 12 hours I spent, I reckon I've spent a good hour, maybe two, just looking at the manual. So yeah, it's beautiful. So
Yeah, talk about the menu. I think I saw some videos about it. Is they are not in English, right? There is some
No.
cryptic made up language.
yeah, there's one or two key words in English, so you can kind of guess what it is.
Ah, okay,
Yes.
okay. That is great then.
Maybe there should be an option to turn that off. Maybe there is. I just haven't looked.
But I feel like that's the design of the game, so
Yeah.
it makes you a bit more finding things more fun. And yeah,
Definitely.
yes.
All right. So, Ron, are you going to try out Tunic soon?
Yes, definitely. Especially it's on Game Pass, so it's kind of paid for me.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this pretty much wraps up our discussion on Tunic and Elden Ring. So, listeners, have you tried either Elden Ring or Tunic? What are your thoughts on the games? Okay, don't be too toxic. You can like both games. Okay, unlike me, I prefer one the other. You can like both. Okay, there's no fanboying over that. Just don't need it. Okay, so do you think?
Definitely.
Now this is a question as well for you, Ron. Do you think Elden Ring and Tunic will be mentioned at the end of the year for Game of the Year award?
Well, definitely for Elden Ring, but also Tunic, I think, as well for indie games, because being able to build a game by one person and to be praised that good is an achievement, I think. So it will be mentioned there, of course. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like for the indie game part, it's probably going to be like Death's Door last year and Hades the year before. Like
Ah.
currently, I feel like I'm really enjoying these type of games as well. You know.
Yes.
Yes.
Hades is another amazing game, yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't beaten it totally. I think I've only
Yes.
escaped once or twice. Okay. Yes. So,
All right.
if you've enjoyed this episode, then hit the like button and subscribe if you want to follow our future discussion in gaming.
Follow us by searching L2RT_gaming on IG, Twitter, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Links are also in the descriptions. Have a good one and stay healthy.
Okay, so remember to aim before you attack. Have a good one.